This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Hi, and welcome to episode 254 of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with your host, David Charlton. Now, as this episode is going to be released, it will be the first Friday in September, which means it's pretty much the end of the summer now. And certainly for myself as a parent with two young kids, they're way back to school. Summer's been full of interesting moments. Lots of fun activities, different places we've explored, some stress, quite a lot of stress in all honesty as a parent, but all in all, some really, really good memories. Summer and the 6 weeks holidays, well, they've given me opportunity to sit back a little bit and reflect too. So I've been reading a lot, I've been listening to a number of different podcasts, and it's certainly give me a food for thought in terms of my goals and what it is that I want to achieve between now and the end of the year. I've stepped back, I've thought about the podcast, I've thought about the business as a whole, the way I go about my consultancy, I've thought about other different ventures that I'm looking to get into, as well as just personally with my fitness. I'm intending to join the gym again. Now that the dark nights have come along, there's going to be a lot more opportunity to go in the gym on an evening instead of being on the golf course. So yeah, loads of time to think, to reflect, and then to move on forward as we progress through 2024. And that's what I want to talk about now for yourself. I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, you may well perform, or your son or daughter performs, or you're a coach and you've got a bunch of athletes that perform. So I want you to ask the question, how is it I can perform better? Or if it's for a team, how can the team perform better? And this is where the mindset or the psychological side comes into it and the purpose of this podcast. So if we think about a variety of different models out there in a sporting capacity that are going to help drive us to get better, we've got to think about this holistically. So we've got the social aspect and how we communicate with other people. We've got the technical aspect of sports, so specific skills. We've got tactical aspects of sports. We've got physical conditioning. We've got lifestyle, perhaps improving your sleep, your nutrition. And then you've got psychological as well. Those are the different aspects that can help improve your game and improve your performances ultimately. Now, a question for you. When you think about those things, the social, the physical, the technical, the tactical, and the lifestyle side of things, and then psychological, which one is the most important to you? It's worthwhile just reflecting and thinking about that. So psychology, if you go back 15 years ago, when I first started getting into this field and looking at a career change, well, if I looked at the job market for an applied sport psychologist, there was probably about one job every 2 to 3 months would come up on a well-recognized website. That website's still live now, and there's more than one job a week comes up. So there's an awful lot of opportunities in this field, which I would say highlights how people's perceptions of psychology and sports psychology have changed and how now it is viewed as an important aspect of getting better. But is there more to be done? I'd say so. If you think about those aspects there that I've mentioned, psychology actually runs at the heart of that. You know, psychology, when we think about lifestyle and going to bed, it starts with a decision. It starts with some planning, which is psychology. If we think about the physical aspect and the commitment required, that takes a decision as well. If we think about the technical side of things, that takes some thought, takes some communication potentially with a coach, which again is born around decision making as is the tactical side and the social side. Some people are maybe more extroverted or introverted. Some people are more comfortable in certain situations, others aren't. And then there's beliefs and environments which can really have an impact in this regards. That is psychological. So there's a psychological underpinning. So a question for you. Again, I'm going to reiterate, how important is psychology or the psychological side to you when we're thinking about improving your performance from the end of 2024? Now, if I think about golf, which is a sport I play to a decent level, I haven't played as much as I'd like to have in 2024, unfortunately, so it's not part of my goals. But golf, generally, if you were to ask somebody how they're going to get better, they would look at the technical aspect of the sport, their golf swing, their putting stroke, etc. And that's generally born out of the conversations that take place on Sky Sports and on various different channels when the analysts come to town. And then you've got social media and different YouTube sites as well, which highlight that. And then people's analytical nature as well about trying to achieve the perfect golf swing. Equipment comes into it. People who are looking for a quick fix will generally go to equipment and start purchasing, spending a lot of money in order to be able to improve and get better. And does it work? Well, I don't know. Questionable in my eyes. Often it just papers over a crack, and often a psychological crack. Then, if we look at other sports, perhaps we'll go at football, which I work an awful lot in. Again, maybe technically things are thought out, but in football, tactics are a big part, certainly before psychology. Now, why is that? Why is it that people don't value psychology? Why is it that people don't necessarily engage with a psychologist? Well, one thing is, I would say, is comfort. It's very easy to get comfortable and to keep doing the things that we always do, or just keep tweaking certain elements. We get a bit lazy, essentially, and we just think, actually, to get better, it's got to be technical or it's got to be tactical. And we don't really look in the mirror deeply. Now, recently, actually working with a client, we were having this conversation about sport psychology and about looking in the mirror. And some people actually find it quite uncomfortable, as this client did. But looking in the mirror, looking at it from a series of different angles, is vitally important if you are going to overcome some mental blocks. Something to consider there. Then we've got the quick fix culture that we have now. Dead easy just to go onto YouTube and look at some shorts, some very short videos anyway, 2-3 minutes long, and look for a quick fix and then try and implement it, or go onto Instagram and do so, and all that noise. That doesn't help us as psychologists. Then we've got the timing aspect. It might be that someone's thinking about working with a sports psychologist and they think a little bit more about it. They then decide, actually, no, I'll work on a different element. So again, it might be the physical aspect. That's going to help me perform better, or the technical aspect. They do that for a couple of months. Nah, that didn't work. So they try something else and they try something else. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, they decide, right, yeah, psychology is for me. I've had an all-time low. Let's do it. Or in some cases, it might be 18 months or 2 years later. I've had emails, I've had phone calls from people who've said they've listened to the podcast for a number of years, or they've received my Mental Edge newsletters, and finally, they've decided to bite the bullet. Lastly, what can hold people back? Fear. Fear of the unknown. What does a sports psychologist do? What's David actually going to say to me? What's he going to change in me? It's quite scary thinking about changing the way we think in our brain, isn't it? So yeah, there's many different reasons why people might not actually then engage with a psychologist or a sports psychologist like myself. Yet, what would the future be like if you did What could your 2024 and then into 2025 look like if you did improve your confidence, if you improved your resilience to bounce back from mistakes, if you're able to regulate your emotions better? Would you be smiling more? Would you have more trophies, more winnings, a new contract? What would actually happen in your life? Would you be a better person to be around, essentially, if you worked on the psychological side? I'd certainly question that if I was you. You know, if we think about it, when it comes down to weight loss, would you look at YouTube, get a range of exercises and then crack on? Would you listen to a podcast and change your diet? Well, maybe. But what's the fastest way, the best way to perhaps lose weight? It would be to see a nutritionist or pay for a personal trainer and then get hammered by the personal trainer. If you're a golfer and you wanted to improve your golf swing this winter, again, would it be to look at YouTube? Would that get you to where you want to be for 2025? Or would it be seeing somebody like myself? No, I wouldn't advise that. Go and see a golf coach. They're going to be able to help you. Then we've got the footballer who's perhaps a little bit disenchanted with the start to the season so far. Maybe they've been benched a little bit. They've been played out of position. They're not quite at it. They're not comfortable. So it's dead easy to scroll social media and look at these motivational clips about what Messi was like when he was 17 or 18 or 23, or what Ronaldo was like in that respect. But really, is that going to help you get better and overcome these barriers? So I'm going to bang the drum again. Come and see me. Please do get in touch. Or get in touch with one of my colleagues or another well-qualified sports psychologist. It could well be the difference between winning and losing and a big smile on your face. My email address is info@sport-excellence.co.uk. I'm an experienced practitioner, and as I alluded to, I do have a team around me who again are very, very knowledgeable. They've got lots of skills, different tools to the toolkit, and can really help you move on forwards and finish 2024 with a flourish. Please do get in touch and have a fantastic week. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sport psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.